Hi, I'm Richard DeVost, founder and software developer for the startup company Vintech. And this is our first product. We call her Desdi. She's your Monte Carlo simulation decision assistant. I'll show you how Desdi can help you and your organization. What is Desdi? She's an app that uses advanced Monte Carlo simulation to help you make better decisions. You can find Monte Carlo simulation programs on desktop computers, but they cost $1,000. Desdi is the first to use this advanced methodology, this advanced technology of Monte Carlo simulation, easy to use, as a phone or tablet app, and for the cost of just a couple cups of coffee. Now, why is Desdi important? It's because we make decisions, and the decisions that we make direct the paths of our lives, our projects, and our careers. When we make a decision, we cut away options and opportunities. For example, a business, when they make a business plan, or a student, when they choose a career, they're choosing one path and saying no to other paths. And choosing these paths is really difficult because we can't know how the future will unfold. For example, you make a plan expecting more customers. Maybe you get more customers and your profits soar. Or maybe a couple of the customers that you had go bankrupt and your profits crater. All sorts of things can happen. And that's uncertainty. We cannot escape uncertainty. Good decision making requires that we factor it in. And Desdi helps us do this with just 3 simple steps. First, we break the decision down into smaller pieces. Second, we estimate a range of possible values for each of these pieces. And third, we simulate the outcome using Monte Carlo simulation. More about that later. Let's demonstrate making a decision using these 3 simple steps. Let's take, for example, a really simple business decision. Suppose we're budgeting for our department or our company, and we're looking at replacing an ancient piece of equipment. So we have a decision to make. Should we lease this new production machine? Well, let's evaluate it with Desdi. Now, the screenshots I'll be showing are actually taken from an iPad mini. After we select it and Desdi loads, we add a decision. We go to the Add Decision screen and we simply say we want to upgrade an equipment lease. Now, there might be more than one piece of equipment we're looking at, and so for each scenario within the decision, we can add a scenario. And so we're adding a scenario in this case, upgrade to model X-157. There, we've now created a decision and we've named it. We've done all the setup that's now required to use Desdi. So let's take step 1 to a better decision. Break the decision down into smaller pieces. Did you know that studies show that you can improve estimates 10 to 100 times by simply breaking the problem down into a few pieces? For our lease decision, we can break it down like this. There's the lease amount. There's the number of units that we expect produced for the year, and there are the labor, material, and maintenance cost savings. That was simple enough. We've now broken down the problem into a few variables. We've completed step 1. Let's go on now to step 2. Estimate the ranges of values. The lease amount is simply $200,000. It's our break-even goal. We estimate that sales can be anywhere between 20,000 and 55,000 units. Now, here's a question. When we're planning and we have a range like this that we don't know for sure where it's going to turn out, how do we use this range in our planning and decision making? Well, the most common thing to do is just choose a value. It's like, oh, let's choose a number somewhere between that so we can use it simply in our software, in our spreadsheet or whatever, in order to come up with what's going to happen, to do our plans. Okay? And the most common approach is to take the average, 37,500 units. That's what I encourage you not to do. The average is simply a make-believe number. It's a pretend certainty. There's almost no possibility that units next year would be 37,500. It could be any number within the range or even outside the range that you've chosen. There's also other technical problems with choosing a single number estimate to represent something that's really a range of possible values. For example, if you underestimate, it could turn out that it's way more costly than if you overestimate, or vice versa. In addition to the technical problems, there's some psychological issues with choosing a single number estimate. For example, if you ask an employee, please give me a value for an estimate for next year's production. I just want a single number. Now, if the employee understands that the corporate culture is that if the actual values come in above the estimate, everyone is happy. Yet if the actual values come in below the estimate, then that employee is a loser. Well, he or she is going to have an automatic, conscious or not, inclination to underestimate so that the actual production will come in at least a little bit above the estimate and the employee won't be a loser. So what's the best strategy when dealing with a range in order to make a plan or a decision? Well, don't choose the average, use the full range from 20,000 to 55,000. And Desdi will use that to factor in the consequences of both the low and the high outcomes. We also tell Desdi how confident we are that production will fall within the range that we've chosen. In this case, we say 90%. In other words, we're saying there's a 10% chance that the actual production will fall either below or above $20,000 and $55,000 units. Similarly, for the other variables, we choose ranges for them. So for the machine, we know that it's a new machine. It should be easier to use, but it's also bigger and could actually take more labor. So we estimate that the savings per unit might be actually cost us an extra $2, or it could save us up to $4. The new machine is more efficient, and so we expect somewhere between $3 and $6 of savings per unit, and the new machine won't break down as much. So we estimate that the maintenance savings will be somewhere between $2 and $5. Each of these is entered as a variable into Desdi. Let's enter the variable, the labor. So we go to add a variable, and we enter in the labor savings somewhere between -2 and $4. Desdi then uses this range to choose numbers for her simulation. And as in this case, we use a default just of a normal distribution. And so what Desdi will do then is she'll choose most of the numbers around the average of $1 and choose some numbers from the extreme edges of the possible values that it could turn out to be. And we do this for the other variables, and then that completes steps 1 and 2 for a better decision. And so let's recap. In step 1, we broke the decision down into several pieces. And then in step 2, for each one of these pieces, we choose a range of values. And so now we're ready for step 3, simulate the outcome. Now here's a question. Why do we need simulation? The model is really quite simple. Its savings is equal to labor plus maintenance plus materials times the units. And so why does something so simple need an advanced simulation technique like Monte Carlo? Well, consider the complexity of even these 4 basic variables. It could turn out that as the year progresses, we find that the labor savings are low, but maintenance savings are high. Production and material savings are about the middle. Or Maybe as we use the machine, we find out that labor savings are actually high, but we didn't sell as much as we expected to. We didn't produce as many units as we wanted. Or maybe it turns out that all the savings are lower than we would like, but we've produced more than we have. Getting your arms around even 4 simple variables like this and all the possible outcomes is enough to make even a statistician's head explode, which is why Desdi uses a Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo was invented by the mathematician Stanislav Ulam while he was working on the Manhattan Project to create the first atomic bomb. While he was playing the card game Solitaire one day, he wondered, what are the chances of getting a successful hand? Well, this is just a basic statistics problem. You thought certainly as a mathematician he could figure that out. But it turned out that there were so many combinations of hands, it just made it too complicated. So he thought, what if instead of trying to figure out all the statistics, I just deal out a bunch of hands and count the ratio that are successful? He took this idea to his mathematician and computer scientist friend, John von Neumann, and asked if this new computer thing that John was working on could help solve that problem. Well, of course, John replies. With this new ENIAC computer, they could simulate in minutes what would take humans years or hours to do. Back then, it took a room-sized computer to do simulations like this. But today, the supercomputers we carry around with us in our mobile phones and tablets have all the power that's needed to run these simulations. And Desdi makes it easy. So step 3 for a better decision, simulate the outcome. The model, as we've seen, is simply the formula for production savings. Our break-even goal is $200,000. And the decision criteria is simply yes, lease, if the savings are greater than the $200,000. So let's put this criteria into Desdi. Back at the scenario where we specified the scenario of upgrading to model X157, we specify that we want to reach or exceed $200,000 and that we want to be 80% sure, confident, that in fact we will reach that goal. Desdi then takes this information, runs 1,000 simulations with random numbers from all the different variables, and shows us what the likely outcomes are going to be. We can see that there's a possibility of saving only $26,000 or even as much as $830,000, but that most likely the savings will come between $227,000 and $428,000. And that, yes, indeed, this is a good decision. There's an 87% confidence to reach the $200,000 savings goal. And that's all it took to implement the 3 steps to a better decision with Desdi. And now that you have a simple model, you can always improve it. Maybe someone expects that materials will rise because of a shortage in the following year. So you can increase the amount of material savings. Or maybe someone else talks about how much downtime costs the company because of the backlogs that are created on other machines. And so you can always add a new piece to model the backlog. Desdi makes it easy to capture and grapple with these types of complexities. Making such a powerful decision-making technology in an affordable and easy-to-use smartphone and tablet app is the next step in decision-making technology. This is the only app of its kind. We're excited about this decision-making app. Here are goals for Desdi. First, we want Desdi to be affordable. There's a free version that lets you view any decision model and change numbers on those models. If you have a team that's looking at a decision, most members on the team can just use the free version. There's a Desdi, there's the Desdi Basic. Costs us $8.99. It lets you create and modify any decision model. This decision was created using the Desdi Basic. The Pro version adds extra sharing abilities plus some other tools. And there are educational discounts for students and teachers of 50%. The second goal is we want to let you use your own cloud in order to share decisions from, rather than us charging a monthly fee to provide cloud storage. Thirdly, we want to continually improve Desdi by adding new features. And fourth, we want to provide pre-made scenarios for common decisions. Desdi provides a framework where experts in different areas can consider all the different variables that you need to know about in order to make your decision. And then once that scenario or template is created, it can be used by anyone with any version of Desdi, even the free version. Well, thank you for watching. Use Desdi and make your work and life better with better decisions.